Will the government of Canada introduce a TR to PR pathway in 2026? In this video, we are going to talk about one of the hottest and most controversial topics in Canadian immigration right now. But before we get started, my name is Madhur Parashar. I'm a licensed Canadian immigration consultant. My contact information is on this video and in the description. If you need any help with your immigration applications, feel free to reach out for our paid immigration services. Now, one of the most hotly debated topics in Canadian immigration is, will the Canadian government start a TR to PR or temporary resident to permanent resident pathway in 2026? The answer is both yes and no. It's not a simple answer. There are many complicated details we need to get into. So let's discuss those. So why do I say yes? It's because in the latest immigration levels plan, which was released along with the government's federal budget, they have talked about 380,000 PRs per year for the next 3 years. On top of those 380,000 PRs, there are two separate one-time initiatives. One of those initiatives is the initiative to grant permanent residence to 33,000 skilled workers in Canada. The budget has been passed, the immigration plan has been approved by Parliament. So yes, a pathway for 33,000 workers to become PRs is coming at some point. So yes, technically this will count as a TR to PR pathway. Technically, all immigration streams are TR to PR pathways. They take temporary residents in Canada and they give them permanent residence. So that way, express entry is a TR to PR pathway. PNPs are a TR to PR pathway. So yes, they are among all these TR to PR streams. Another one-time initiative for transitioning 33,000 skilled workers will be introduced at some point in the next 2 years. So a TR to PR pathway is coming at some point. So the answer is yes. So why did I say yes and no? Let's get into the no, which is the more complicated part. The main reason I say no is because of the terminology TR to PR. The government is not calling it TR to PR. People are calling it in reference to the old original TR to PR pathway, which was introduced around the time that COVID was ending and there was a labor shortage. So the government introduced a PR bonanza and gave out permanent residence to tens of thousands of people. Anyone who was in the country basically got PR. Now that policy was considered a complete disaster politically, economically, and socially. And I agree with that. The government is not going to repeat that mistake. The stakes are too high. Also, the economics and political situation back then was very, very different. The country was opening up after COVID. There was a labor shortage. The economy was growing fast. And the politics was not so hostile towards immigration. Now we are in a completely opposite world. There is political pressure to reduce immigration. The economy is not doing so well. Unemployment is high. Tariff wars are coming. So there is no way that another immigrant-friendly bonanza like the original TR to PR will be introduced. So if the question is, will the TR to PR pathways style program be introduced again? Then my answer is no. So we talked about what the pathway will not be. Now let's talk about what may happen. So the government has said that they will have a one-time initiative over the next 2 years to accelerate the transition to PR for certain skilled workers in Canada with a focus on rural areas. That's it. These are the 5 points that are known. And all the guesses and speculations are based on these 5 points alone. So let's unpack these factors. First of all, accelerated PR pathway. Now we don't know what this accelerated means. We know that it cannot go through express entry. It will be a separate initiative. How quickly will these applications be processed? We don't know that. There are still the original TR to PR pathway, certain applications which have still not been processed and the decision has still not come. That was considered one of the big failures of that pathway. So the government has intentionally introduced the word accelerated. So hopefully they will plan their processing capacity accordingly and process applications more quickly. Secondly, these 33,000 PRs will be converted over a period of 2 years. Now that can be structured in many different ways. It may be that they open one window to intake 33,000 applications and then they process it for 2 years. It could be that they open multiple intake windows and keep the program operating intakes throughout the 2 years. We don't know how they will structure it. Number three, we also don't know the timing. They have over 2 years to implement this program. So they could start implementing it in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months later. We just don't know. The next point, they have said this will be focused on in-demand sectors. Now, one of the failures of the previous program was that it gave PR cards to everyone, irrespective of the sector, irrespective of their human capital, and so on. This time, the government has promised that they will be very selective, and one of the obvious selection criteria is what sector or what industry is your work experience in. So it's obvious that trades, healthcare, construction, possibly education, possibly STEM, these categories will be prioritized. Which sectors, we don't know yet. We can make some educated guesses, but the ultimate NOC list will be released by the government at some point. The most important factor that most people are ignoring is that it clearly says the focus will be on rural areas. Does this mean that the entire 33,000 will go towards rural areas only? I don't think so. I think there could be a distribution between urban and rural areas, but the emphasis will be away from cities like Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver. In their statements, the government has also said they want to identify the people who have settled in communities, they are contributing taxes to the government, they have deep roots in their communities, and so on. So it probably means that they will look for people who are actively currently employed on a work permit and have some sort of work history in Canada. How much work history? We don't know that. Maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. The specifics will be released later. But I fully expect that they will require some sort of work history in Canada and an active work permit. Obviously, because the intake is limited to 33,000 and there are millions of people who want these spots. So they have to introduce some kind of an intake mechanism, and most probably it could again be first come first serve basis, which means once the intake window opens, I expect this to be filled up very quickly. So based on whatever brief sentences that the government has released, those are the different factors that I can think of in terms of implementation. And now we'll wait for the details from the government. Now the important question is, in response to this, what can you do to improve your chances of PR? I have a few pointers for you. Number one is obvious. Everyone is saying it. I will say it too. Keep your documents ready. Now, whether there was going to be a TR to PR pathway or not, this is something that you should already do anyways. You should keep your educational credential evaluation, ECA reports, your language test reports current, get police certificates, get work experience letters. I mean, these are obvious things that you should be doing irrespective of whether there was going to be a TR to PR pathway or not. If your language tests are expiring, if your police certificates are expiring, make sure you get new ones in time. These things take time. The second thing is, don't put all your hopes on this pathway and abandon your other plans. If your employer was ready to file an LMIA, go ahead and get that LMIA filed. Go ahead and get an employer job offer for OINP. Go ahead and continue learning French. Don't abandon your existing concrete plans thinking that, oh, I'm going to get a TR to PR pathway anyways. Okay, so keep your plans active, keep your strategies going. If this happens and you qualify, great. If not, let this be a backup plan. Number three, if possible, get some rural experience. If you can get a job offer somewhere and go gain experience outside of these big cities, go ahead and get started. Apply to jobs, see if you can move, because that will come handy whenever the program opens. I realize that in this economy, it's easier said than done, but this news or rumor should give you some impetus to start applying to these jobs. Number 4, if you're going to work with an immigration lawyer or consultant, identify who you're going to work with and start working with them now. Once the program details are announced, these professionals are going to be swamped with calls and clients. So I would advise that you do your due diligence, make your calls, and get enrolled and start the process with your guide right now. So those are the things that you should do. What are the things that you should not do? First of all, don't depend on any influencers, ghost consultants, unlicensed agents, or any social media rumors. Get your information from the official sources or from licensed consultants and lawyers. Second, as I already said, don't abandon your existing streams or existing plans thinking that TR to PR is in the bag. We don't know when it will come, whether you will still have an active work permit when it comes, and whether you will qualify under the sector, under the rural area. We just don't know that right now. So don't abandon your existing streams and plans. Third, if your work permit is expiring or will expire before this program comes, then I don't think there's any point sticking around by becoming a student or by converting it into a TRV just in the hopes that this program will come and convert you to PR. I very strongly feel that you will need an active work permit at the time of the program in order to be eligible. And finally, if your work permit is valid for a long period, but you had decided to cut short and leave, maybe to gain foreign experience, then you probably want to stick around and stay until the end of your work permit. Because if you leave and then the TR to PR happens, you might miss out. So keep that in mind before you make any big immigration decisions. I would say consult with an immigration expert before making any big decisions like that. So that's it. Those are all my views and opinions about this so-called TR to PR pathway. We'll have to wait and watch what the government finally releases in its details. Once it is released, you will find the update here on this channel. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Once again, my name is Madhur Parashar. I'm a licensed Canadian immigration consultant. My contact information is on this video in the description. If you need help, reach out for our paid immigration services.